When my mother said, "You're not even half the woman your sister is," it felt like the whole room stopped. Even the clock on the wall seemed to hold its breath. Her words didn't just hurt. They flicked on something in me that I didn't realize was still burning. I lifted my head as calm as I could manage and answered, "Then maybe she can start covering your rent." The sound that followed was chaos. Chairs scraping, silverware dropping. My father paling like someone had drained the color from him. "Rent? What rent?" he whispered. That was the night 3 years of unspoken tension cracked wide open. But the truth didn't start there. It had been building long before, beginning with a phone call I'll never get out of my mind. Before I unravel the rest, tap like and tell me where you're hearing this from. I want to know if anyone else has ever had to draw a line in the sand with their own family. My name is Lily Hart. I'm 28. From the outside, nothing seems out of place. Stable paycheck, tidy apartment, safe routines. I work in finance for a logistics company near the harbor in Portland, the kind of job where numbers always add up and rules actually mean something. I wish families worked the same way. Every Friday evening, I drive half an hour to my parents' house in the suburbs. It's been the ritual since I left for college. Dinner like a weekly appointment I never agreed to but was expected to keep. If I say I'm exhausted, my mother calls until I pick up. If I don't answer, my father sends a message that pretends to be a joke. "This family has a seat for you. Don't leave it empty." So I show up. I walk into the same familiar walls, the same smells. My mother's roast chicken, my father's cologne, my sister Ava's perfume lingering long after she arrives. The stairway is lined with photos. Ava's law school graduation, Ava accepting an award, Ava beaming at my parents' sides. My own degree hangs somewhere near the laundry room, almost easy to overlook. At the dinner table, conversation begins and ends with her. Ava won another case. Ava bought new furniture. Ava might make partner next year. My father looks at her like she's reporting on a universe only she has access to. My mother laughs at every little thing she says, hanging on her arm as if she's holding a prize. When the attention turns to me, it's usually to remind me who I'm not. "You've always been the quiet one." Or "You never had the drive your sister has, but that's all right." I sip my wine and pretend their comments don't stick, but they always do. Because every time they celebrate my sister's achievements, I remember the nights I sat alone, transferring money from my own savings to keep their house from slipping away. They never noticed. They never wondered. They assumed I was fine because I didn't complain. They called me the calm one, the steady one, the one who didn't need praise. But even the person who never raises their voice eventually reaches a limit, and mine was approaching fast. It all began 3 winters ago on a night so cold the wind felt like it could split skin. I had just finished a 12-hour shift when my phone lit up with my mother's name. She never called that late. I answered right away. Her voice was shaking. "Your father lost a major contract. If we miss the payment, the bank will send a notice. We might lose the house. Can you help us just this once?" I didn't hesitate. The money I had been saving for a down payment on my own place disappeared with a single transfer. She called again, crying with relief, promising they'd return it once things improved. I believed her. But just this once turned into months, then a year. Same message every time. "Only this month, sweetheart. Next month will be better." And I kept saying yes. Eventually, I set up an automatic transfer so I wouldn't have to feel it each time. Bleeding silently felt easier than disappointing them. I wasn't just giving them money. I was giving up parts of the life I had planned. I stopped going on trips with friends, stayed in an apartment I should have left, told myself it was temporary, because families are supposed to help one another, right? But somewhere between those monthly payments and my parents bragging about Ava's triumphs, I realized I wasn't helping. I was fading out of my own life. I still remember the night I finally looked at the total. $72,000. My cursor hovered over the screen, blinking steadily. That small, impatient flash marked the moment I lost my down payment, my dream apartment, my sense of independence. It wasn't the money that stung the most, it was the silence. Nobody had ever acknowledged me. Not once. Every dinner, my father toasted Ava's accomplishments, my mother boasted about her clients, and I sat there quietly, aware that I had been silently keeping a roof over their heads. The following month, when my mother sent another message, "Can you help just this once?" I didn't reply. I opened my banking app, found the scheduled transfer and stopped it. A tiny confirmation popped up. Are you sure? I tapped yes. Just like that, the burden I'd carried for 3 years lifted. I didn't realize it then, but that single act was the first step in reclaiming myself. Not through drama, but through truth and evidence. That night, after canceling the payment, I lingered at my kitchen table, staring at the laptop's glow. My hands shook, but it wasn't fear. For 3 years, I had measured my value by those transfers. Each dollar was proof that I was a good daughter. Without them, who was I? Yet as I stared, a strange lightness settled over me. I wasn't the invisible safety net anymore. I was just me. Exhausted, financially strained, but finally free. The next morning before dawn, I ran along the Willamette River. Mist rose from the water, curling around the streetlights. My lungs burned, but it wasn't pain, it was clarity. Each stride peeled away the weight I had carried since that first desperate phone call. That day marked the start of rebuilding my life. Not for anyone else, but for myself. On Thursdays, I joined a small cooking class at a downtown community center. It wasn't glamorous, but it offered a simple peace I hadn't felt in years. Nobody there knew about Ava, my parents, or the years I had spent saving a home that wasn't mine. They only knew me as Lily, the woman who loved making soups and always managed to burn her first loaf of bread. At work, I devoted myself to projects with renewed focus. Numbers were still my language, but now they had purpose. My boss noticed. One evening, after I stayed late preparing reports, he paused by my desk. "Your attention to detail is impressive," he said. That compliment stayed with me longer than any praise my parents had ever offered. Maybe because it was genuine, maybe because I had earned it. 2 months later, a fintech startup in Seattle contacted me. They wanted me to lead their new financial analysis team. The offer was beyond anything I had imagined. 40% more pay and company shares. I didn't hesitate. I signed and packed my Portland apartment. Moving to Seattle felt like shedding the final layer of my former self. The city was unfamiliar and cold, but I embraced it fully. My new place was modest, sleek, and mine alone. No shadows reached me here. Yet some nights I would sit on the floor surrounded by old folders, records of every transfer, receipt, and message that had begun with just this once. I couldn't discard them yet. Deep down I knew the story wasn't over. One day the truth would have to be confronted, and I would answer with proof, not tears. 6 months after moving, I thought the past was behind me. A calm new chapter of life had begun. Then my phone buzzed with a message from Mrs. Whitaker, my parents' elderly neighbor. "Hi dear, I thought you should see this." A photo followed. A banner stretched across my parents' porch in bold red letters. "Congratulations, Ava Hart, for preserving the family home." My chest constricted. I zoomed in, blinked, but the words didn't change. The home I had kept afloat for 3 years was now being credited entirely to Ava. They hadn't just ignored my effort, they had erased me. I sat in silence, city noises muted behind me. But anger didn't rise this time. Instead, I felt clarity. I opened the drawer under my desk and retrieved the folder I had preserved. Inside were bank statements, screenshots, messages. Every piece of evidence that documented the truth. My life had been rebuilt on proof, and now that proof was mine to wield. That night, I consolidated everything into a single file labeled Truth. I wasn't entirely sure why, perhaps habit or instinct, but I knew the moment would come when it mattered. That moment arrived sooner than I expected. One evening my cousin Nina called. "Hey Lily, your parents are hosting a family dinner to honor Ava for saving the house. Just thought you should know." She hesitated. "They want you to prepare the slideshow. Do you want to see it?" Within minutes the file appeared in my inbox, pictures of Ava smiling, captions like, "Thank you for keeping our family's fire alive." I reached the final slide, bold letters glowing on a golden backdrop, thanking Ava Hart, the daughter who had saved our family home. I sank into my chair, letting a mixture of anger and disbelief wash over me. Then I opened my own file, the one I called Truth. For hours I worked quietly, replacing the fabricated ending slides with detailed evidence. Transfer logs, a chart of monthly contributions, and screenshots of my mother's messages that always began with, "Just this once." I added a final image of the house, quiet, ordinary, with a single caption beneath it, "Remember this." Once finished, I saved the file on my laptop, a USB, and the cloud. This time there would be no room for distortion or erasure. The dinner was Saturday night in downtown Seattle. I hadn't RSVP'd, I simply arrived. The restaurant was lively, warm, brimming with laughter. My father stood at the center, microphone in hand, smiling with the pride I once yearned for. My mother sat beside him, pearls catching the light, while Ava shone in emerald green, flawless, untouchable. I lingered at the doorway until I heard my father speak. "We are so fortunate to have a daughter like Ava. She preserved our home, our legacy." Applause filled the room. My hand clenched around the USB in my pocket. As the slideshow began, I stayed at the back, observing. Photos of family gatherings, holidays, Ava cutting the ribbon on her law firm. Smiles and laughter projected across the screen. Then the final slide appeared, but it wasn't Ava's version anymore. Silence swept the room. Bold black letters spelled out, "Financial contributions 2020 to 2023. A low murmur spread among the guests. I stepped forward, my heels clicking against the floor. My father froze mid-smile. My mother's grip on her glass tightened. 36 payments, one for each month. Total, $72,000. Screenshots of messages appeared, just this month, sweetheart highlighted. "When the truth causes discomfort," I said softly, "that's not my responsibility." The room held its breath. Then someone in the back started clapping. A single beat that soon multiplied, echoing across tables. My father's face went pale. My mother opened her mouth, but no words emerged. Ava's eyes glistened, lips trembling. 3 years, I continued. $72,000. Every month, while you celebrated my sister's accomplishments, I was quietly maintaining our home. You didn't forget. You acted like it never happened. My father stammered. "We never asked. You didn't have to. You let me," I interrupted. "You built your pride on my silence. That ends now." I unplugged the USB and placed it back in my bag. The crowd's eyes followed me as I walked toward the exit. My mother whispered my name, soft and pleading, but I kept moving. Outside, the night air was sharp and clear. For the first time in years, the ground felt real beneath my feet. The world of hidden truths collapsed behind me. I was no longer invisible, I was free. 2 days later, a gentle knock at my door woke me. Peering through the peephole, I froze. My parents stood there, her eyes puffy, his shoulders slumped. I opened the door without inviting them in. Silence hung between us, thick and heavy. Finally, my mother spoke. "Lily, we're sorry. We were wrong. We shouldn't have stayed quiet. We shouldn't have let Ava take the credit. We want to put your name on the deed. You deserve it." I just looked at them, the people I spent years trying to please. Once those words might have shattered me. Now, surrounded by my own quiet sanctuary, I realized I didn't need their apology. "I have a home now," I said. "It's not that one. I don't need the deed. I just needed respect." They nodded slowly, not out of denial but understanding. That oddly was enough. When they left, I watched the city lights shimmer across the water. Outside, everything felt steady, like numbers finally balanced. I was no longer the quiet, overlooked daughter. I was Lily, seen, grounded, free. That night, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, watching Seattle hum beneath me. I reflected on the years of dinners, silences, and comparisons, realizing my worth was never dependent on their approval or Ava's accolades. It was in every small act of resilience, every unnoticed victory. I glanced at the folder of evidence on my desk and smiled. It had served its purpose, I didn't need it anymore. If you've ever felt invisible, remember, silence is not weakness, and walking away is not defeat. Sometimes it is the truest form of strength.